This is Groove Talk with FrogE Style.
Welcome to another episode of Groove Talk, everybody. On this episode, I am joined yet again by Anthony and Will of the Galacticas.
Hello.
Hi, everybody. Should I be sitting? I'm a pretty loud guy. Should I be like this far away from the mic?
As long as you talk at the mic, we're good.
Yeah. Okay.
You can fix it in post, I bet.
I've gotten really good at just fixing that stuff. So
Yeah.
But this actually, you guys are now officially, you have been guests on the podcast the most. I was trying to figure out how to say that, and like, why was that so hard?
I think this is our third
It's
time.
our third time. We're back. Yeah.
Yeah, you just can't seem to get rid of us.
Yeah.
And third time without a bass player either. There's no Mark.
We do actually have a bass player.
He exists.
Yeah.
We just don't let him get out of the car.
Yeah.
He
No, we
stays
don't.
out there.
He doesn't have anything good to say. They never. Bass players. The reason why they play the bass guitar is because they never ever anything interesting to say. They're just boring people by nature.
Yeah.
Unless you want to talk about Star Trek.
Yeah.
He's really into Star Trek.
He likes Star Trek and Logan's Run. Those are the only two things he likes.
That's after a year with touring with this guy. Like that's pretty much as we can get information wise of his personality.
Yeah.
It's just Star Trek and Logan's Run. Everything else is just a
Oh,
dry run.
and the first Sam Raimi Spider-Man movie.
Yeah, he does like that
He
one.
likes that one. But we're super stoked to be back. It was one of the first things I thought. I was like, okay, EP release is coming up. I want to get back on that podcast.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking
Nice.
too. That's why I was like, I sent you the copy, and I was like, we got to do like our like the release run, like the circuit of like promotional stuff.
Yeah, unfortunately, no CGSW this time. They just couldn't find a time slot that was convenient for us. But that's okay. Whatever.
That's whatever. I prefer to be on here because you can like talk about everything, and you're
And
uncensored.
people actually listen to you. I'm just kidding. CGSW is awesome.
Yeah. So like, I guess it's been about a year since you guys have been on the show last, just over a year actually.
Yeah.
So I guess what have you guys been up to in that year?
Well, I guess, because Dan was still in the band as our bass player.
I think we announced that Dan was leaving on this podcast last year.
Was that,
Yeah, we didn't announce Mark was joining the band. I think it was like 2 or 3 weeks.
Oh, yeah,
because we were doing the
right.
release like
Yeah,
press per se for Diagnostics, and then that was when we were on last time.
The Diagnostics release was Dan's official last show. He did actually play with us in Lake Louise right after that. But but like so November last year was Dan, and then he left to focus on Dead Pixel and I was in Less Miserable.
Yeah, playing bass for those guys.
Yeah. So Mark took over, and Mark's been he's from the Bandolier Brigade. You ever know about these guys?
I've heard of them. Yeah.
Well, they're like we played with them like at the Distortion a while back.
Yeah, I remember it was his show was so memorable because we've seen a lot. There's a lot of bands that can try to do I Believe in a Thing Called Love, but there's not a lot of bands with guys that can sing it. And this was the only time that we actually saw a band that could like have a guy that sang it.
Well, Mark's his stage performance, and he understood one of the most important things I think a band should recognize is look, and they definitely, the Bandolier Brigade has that down. Like they know how to look cool on stage. They look like complete goofs, but
it's cool goofs.
But it's cool goofs, and Mark puts on a great show. And I remember watching and being like, wow, this band's really cool. And they have like a classic night. They deliberately sound like they're like Rush, essentially, like a very 70s classic rock kind of Supertramp sort of thing.
Yeah, super proggy, that sort of thing.
Yeah, and as soon as Dan left, I'm pretty sure my first like notion was like, I'm gonna ask that Mark guy.
Yeah. Well, we were first like we need a singer.
Because Diagnostics is completely just like littered with just vocal harmonies.
Yeah.
And it wasn't really, like, no offense to Dan, but it was never, he's better at singing now, but at the time it wasn't really his strong suit. So like live, we just didn't have any of these harmonies, and I was like, man, we're kind of lying with this with Diagnostics. It's like the harmonies are kind of a big part of it. So I was like, we need a guy that can just sing And Mark is like, one of the best singers I've ever known. Like, he's a really good singer.
Yeah, really good
I mean, he
singer.
literally teaches singing lessons.
Oh, really?
I think he went to UFC for vocals or something like that, or
Yeah.
at least like orchestration, and like his strong suit was doing it in vocals. So that was a huge ooh. That's your secret weapon.
He's a real musician. Like, he actually knows how to read music.
Yeah.
and we can't do that. There's no way.
He's teaching music right now. That's why he's not here. Like, he's teaching it to kids. So.
Yeah.
That's another level of it's one thing to understand it. It's another thing to teach it.
Yeah.
Oh, sure. Yeah. 100%. The reading music thing has always been interesting to me because I kind of think that somehow not being able to read music sometimes strengthens, because there's a lot of actually studies that say just being able to read, period, has shortened the memory of of just people, because back before we used to, before most of the population was literate, people's memories were just better because they had to be, right? They had to remember stuff, so they tell stories. And so I feel the same way, because I can remember how to play an entire Iron Maiden song front to back. I've never learned how to read music, but I can do Hallowed Be Thy Name. It's an 8-minute long song, whereas an 8-minute long piece of classical music, you always see the people reading the sheet music. Whereas I imagine the complexity is fairly similar to an Iron Maiden song. So I sometimes I feel like not being able to read music actually kind of strengthened my memory a little bit. Maybe. Or that's what I'm telling myself to make myself feel better.
No, I could definitely see that, because I have heard the same thing about reading and the extension of the memory. And back in the day, people would get books and they would memorize the entire book because that's what they had to. That's the only time they get this book, so they had to memorize it because they'll never see it again. Yeah, well, apparently there were certain educators back in the day that did think that learning, making the population literate was a threat to the memory of just the average citizen or whatever, and it was kind of viewed the same way, our iPhones are screwing our brains up, these books, they're gonna ruin it's the same sort of thing. I don't know how we got to that conversation, but whatever. Yeah.
The Gen Qers, those books that are coming out.
Is that what they're called?
I don't know. I was
the little kids. What are they going to call them? There's Gen Z, and then they just stopped. It's the end of the alphabet.
Yeah. We're going on to numbers now. It's gonna be Gen 1, Gen 2.
Yeah, like the Xbox One.
Yeah. Actually, it'll be sense. It'll be Gen 360, and then Gen 1.
Gen 360, and then start at A again.
Yeah, start at A again. They'll just never get it right from here on out. Yeah.
I mean, freaking generations are so slippery anyway. You search up what is a millennial, and it's
we were having this conversation.
We just had this argument because I'm like, because you're 1995, right?
I'm 95.
Yeah, so you're actually not a millennial.
I think, and it does. I was like, it doesn't matter because there's no concrete evidence anywhere of when these dates. At least from what I could see. From
there's there's overlap. That's what they say.
Yeah,
there's overlap. Because I was born in '90, and I'm just the tail end of the millennial generation, or just the beginning of the millennial generation, or something.
Yeah.
Like that.
Well, the official numbers I've heard repeatedly.
Yeah.
According to such minds like Joe Rogan, I guess.
is brilliant Joe Rogan.
Who I was just listening to before I came here. Is 1984 to 2000 is a millennial range, which puts me right in the middle. And I was a real 90s kid. I was born in '87, and I literally was I turned 13 in the year 2000.
Yeah.
So I'm as millennial as it gets.
Yeah.
for better or for worse. I don't know if I'm complimenting myself or not.
Yeah.
I think the millennial generation is so miscategorized. I feel if I'm a millennial, that means all my friends, the majority of them are millennials.
Yeah.
And everything that gets subscribed to millennials, I'm I do not see that anywhere in my friends. Entitlement, laziness. It's
no
broke. I see broke a lot.
I see broke a lot. Yeah.
No, it is completely. I mean, it might have been true. Back when times were a bit more optimistic, when I was first graduating from high school, and I imagine you're about the similar age to me. You said 90s, so yeah, you're a couple of years younger than me. But I did notice that a little bit, because I started working when I right out of high school, and I kind of saw that with some of my friends, this entitlement stereotype.
Yeah.
But as the economy's kind of gotten crappier and things have. I've just noticed that we all are just working way harder, and so I honestly think that the stereotype of the entitlement was more just like old people being mad at young people.
Yeah,
And you know, and then the young people just got old, like you know, and that went away. You know.
Yeah. And now we're like almost the old people who are going to be getting mad at the young people again.
I'm already
like,
doing it.
Tell me about it.
They're entitled.
Fortnite.
Yeah, I was just gonna say I worked at a video game store for a while, and it's Fortnite all the time, and I was just getting so angry.
He's like, "What is this thing? Haven't you heard of Zelda?"
Yeah, I've definitely had those moments now where I like bring something up to someone younger and they're just like, you know, something that's just like some pop culture reference that everybody would get until you say it to a younger person. They're like, "What's that?" And you're like, "Oh
way
no."
over there.
Actually, well, now since Mark's not here, he's really interesting science experiment actually because
It was like he was
actually-
born in 1978 and then just kept in cryo freeze, and we just got him out like last year.
it's seriously super weird. I'm fascinated by it because like he's younger than you are.
No, he's older than me. He's
Okay, so
probably
no,
2
he's
years.
older than you. He's like 24 or whatever.
He's 24,
And he
25.
never heard the song "All the Small Things" by Blink-182. I'm just like, it blew my mind. Like I like we were like learning the Hell song by Sum 41. And I was like, okay, we're gonna do the Hell song. He's like, okay, what song is that? I'm like, you know, Sum 41. Like, you know, I mean, like maybe that is maybe a deep cut, but it feels like it should be just like, I don't know. How did you grow up in Canada and not hear that? I don't know.
I think it all has to do with he's from Ponoka, and he's from like Ponoka is a pretty small town, and I think being from a small town generally has to do with that because you don't have that much exposure. My girlfriend is from a small town, Pincher Creek. And she's the exact same thing. Like we just watched Aliens for the first time like a couple nights ago, and she had no context for Star Wars or anything. She had no idea what it was.
The rite of passage from every single relationship I've ever had is we have to get through the alien quadrilogy.
The whole thing.
Yeah. Oh yeah. One time I had a deal. It's like, okay, we have to watch we have to watch all 4 Alien movies, and we could pick whatever franchise you want to watch. And she picked Harry Potter, and I was like, "Damn, that's double the amount of movies." But I agreed to this.
I went through Harry Potter as well. I actually didn't mind Harry Potter. I was able to keep through it. I never grew up with Harry Potter, so Harry Potter wasn't really like. I mean, I like Star Wars, you know. But Harry Potter's like I liked it.
I liked the first one a lot, and everyone was all like, "You're gonna like." The later ones are so cool because they're all dark, and to me it's like it kind of feels like with the later Harry Potter movies when they're trying to be all badass. It's kind of like when Sum 41 tried to be a metal band. You know, they're like it's like, nah, just do what you're good at. You know, yeah.
Amazing. I think they were just kind of, like those later ones were just a kind of a product of that late 2000s, like the grunge era of like movies, like as soon as Dark Knight happened, everything had to be kind of like Dark
edgy
Knight
and dark.
Yeah.
Well, and
and
also
it was there for like 5 years until like Marvel was like, nah, we can have fun.
Yeah, isn't that weird how we were all just like super stoked on these dark movies, and then and now no one wants that anymore. Like nobody wants a dark superhero.
Yeah,
movie.
I saw
DC got the memo kind of late, but they're finally catching on.
Yeah.
And man, they are not like. You haven't seen Aquaman? Have you seen
not
Aquaman?
interested.
No, I haven't seen Aquaman now.
That's a movie, man. I'm not gonna say if it's good or bad. I'm on the fence of it because there's points of it where it's like, oof, this is a nightmare, and then there's points of it where like this is the greatest thing I've ever seen in my entire life.
Yeah. It's just like I'm so like over superhero movies right now. Like I just like
It's getting to the end. I feel like the hype is gonna go.
yeah,
soon.
it's just so inundated with like so many like there has been good ones. Don't get me wrong, and I have watched a lot of them, obviously. But like
yeah.
I'm just so like over like you know what's gonna happen in a superhero movie for the most part. Like
It was so frustrating when I went and saw Infinity War, and the girl I was with like started to tear up at the end, and I was like, I had to be that jerk. I'm like, they're not dead. Don't you know how this works? And I was just so, and she's like, oh, but it's so sad. I'm like, no, don't buy into what they're selling you. You know, I don't know. No, it's true. Like I've felt the superhero fatigue pretty much since like Civil War, like way back in those days of 2016 or whatever. But for sure, yeah. And he, you know, we feel the same with Star Wars and all that stuff. There's just so much, you know.
Yeah.
It's just too much. Yeah.
And I didn't think I would ever like start getting sick of Star Wars, but it's not that I'm
me
sick
too,
of it,
man.
but it's just like
hasn't happened to me.
I
yet.
just
not
feel
sick, but
I'm
yeah.
I'm still on board with Star Wars.
I'm
holding out.
fatigued. Like I'm just sick of the conversation. Like
Yeah, but you
everything becomes a war, and like because I'm so connected to the internet and can't not be connected to the internet, everything's just like there's so much opinion on all of it, and then you don't know where you stand on it, and then when you figure out opinion, somebody tells you you're wrong, and then you're just like, where do I stand on this? And then it's weird. It's it's awful. I hate it.
How can you like be like, oh, I'm so sick of Star Wars? There's been 4 movies. How many more? There's 20 Marvel movies.
I
Star
would
Wars
say-
has not had a chance for you to get sick of it
Yeah,
yet.
no.
I don't think Marvel is as controversial as Star Wars. Star Wars is like people like the stars of Star Wars like quit Twitter, like all social media altogether from the like absolute
Yeah.
backlash that they feel. Robert Downey Jr. and Chris Evans and all the Marvel guys, they thrive on social media still, and nobody really comes after them. I think in like as a violent way. I could be completely wrong, but just seems like there's just so much violence directed towards Star Wars.
Star Wars is a fascinating what it's become. It's transcended in this cultural touchstone of, I don't know, just like controversy that's we're gonna look back on it and be like, what was going on with that?
Yeah.
Remember The Last Jedi? Like, do you guys remember?
Remember the world changed when everybody saw Last Jedi?
Yeah, maybe, or not. Maybe people will just forget. I don't know.
Yeah.
Find out. But I'm still totally on board. I'm really looking forward to
Yeah.
episode 9.
I'm looking forward to episode. I want to see what they do with what they, left with The Last Jedi.
It's one of the most interesting movies to ever happen because it's going to be like, so Disney bought Star Wars for $4 billion, and then they made this movie that just split the fan base, and now everything, their investment rides on this episode 9. Like, it's going to be like the whole world is waiting to see, like, will they unite the fan base? Because if they don't, and it's not even even a little bit awesome, it'll just completely, like, forever, like, it might mean the end of, like,
You know what we'll probably get in like 10 years, 15 years, maybe even 20 years is a biopic about the people trying to make Star Wars today.
Yeah,
so
probably.
interesting, actually.
Yeah.
Just like people like pulling their hair out. That'd be awesome, actually. I'd watch that.
Well, yeah, like, because like you can't please everybody, and everybody has their own expectations for what Star Wars should be. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
So I've really been enjoying the spin-offs, like I just actually watched the Solo movie yesterday for the
I watched it
second
again.
time,
It was on Netflix.
Solo is my favorite of all the new movies.
Yeah, it's been good.
It doesn't do any, like, The Last Jedi, like, I'll defend it, like, but it definitely has lots to answer for. Whereas Solo doesn't. In my opinion, it actually has no, like, pitfalls of any kind. It just is a adventure.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
They did
Yeah.
it very well as that. It was just like an adventure movie. It was kind of gritty still with, like, the way they did it,
But it was fun.
It was
like,
fun.
It was so
fun.
much fun.
It was
Like you're
fun.
just watch. Everybody on that screen just seems like they're having a good time in some sort of way.
Yeah, Aaron Reich cast Solo.
Alden Ehrenreich or
Yeah,
whatever.
whatever. Yeah, he did great. I honestly think Lando is perfectly cast, and I really like Woody Harrelson's character. Beckett was cool.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed it. Rogue One is my least favorite. I still like it less than The Last Jedi, but I still think it's fine.
I love it. I love Rogue One. I watched it with my girlfriend not that long ago. Like, I get solidified in my opinion whenever I watch a movie with my girlfriend because she'll just like say the same thing that I was thinking. And we watched Rogue One. And I was like, yeah, this is great. Like, all the characters I think are awesome.
The girlfriend test is great because they're generally normal people, and
Yeah.
so if
They're not so invested in it.
so if they like it, then that means it's like, okay, so it's like I'm not a weirdo for liking this.
Yeah, exactly. Or if they like it and you like didn't like it, and you're like, okay, I guess it's still a valid, entertaining movie for normal people.
Exactly.
But...
Yeah.
But I'm smart and I know what's really supposed to be going on here.
Like you're trying to sit somebody down and watch Alien 3 and you're trying to be like, no, but like it's a dark classic because of these really complex reasons, and they're like, it was boring, and you're like, well,
Yeah. Oh, okay, so Now that we've gotten Star Wars out of the way.
Yeah, kick that off at the beginning.
Yeah, got that off at the beginning.
We I think even when we were on tour with Dan for a little while, like Dan would kind of have like this mental counter how far we would get in tour before we started talking about Star Wars, and usually it was about 10 minutes.
Yeah, oh, no.
So I think it's about 10 minutes.
Never
now.
fails. We're always talking about Star Wars. It happens. Yeah, I don't know. Anyways, yeah. So we make music.
Yeah, music. So I guess the new EP. First of all, when is it coming out?
February 22nd at the Broken City.
Yeah.
Cool.
It's a really great lineup. Actually, I'm really happy with the who I managed to scrape together for this. We got Mademoiselle, who you've had here not too long ago. I guess it was a while ago now.
Yeah.
It was about just under a year ago or something like that.
I don't know.
Yeah.
In my old age, these days just go by. Yeah. Crack the Lens, who you also had here fairly recently.
Yeah, that was pretty recently.
Yeah, and then the Detractions, who you've also had.
I've
here.
also had on the
Okay,
podcast,
so yeah,
It's an all-star of groove talk, right?
yeah. It's a really great lineup, and I would have had more. You know, like there's so many other bands that, like I just wanted, but like like Four's already pushing it, so. That's it, and it should be cool. I mean, the EP we recorded at Echo Base Studio as well with Casey Lewis, and man, that guy just he works,
Yeah. He's able to make us sound okay, and that's a tall order in some cases.
I mean, you've had a bunch of bands, or at least a few, that have recorded with him come
yeah.
here. Like, I know Crack the Lens did.
Yeah, Crack the Lens.
And did Taylor come by himself, or from Crack the Lens?
Oh no, I talked to the three of them.
Yeah, because he also recorded. I believe he recorded his solo project with Casey as well.
Okay.
I'm not sure if he came by himself to promote it or anything, but I know he's releasing that as well pretty soon.
Okay.
But yeah, it just feels like every time we go back to him, he just makes even more of an effort than the last time. It's unreal. Like he just I don't know. He seems to be very focused on trying to improve himself as an engineer.
Yeah.
And,
and as a producer, and like he's filling all these different roles like in this studio, and it's amazing how much work he puts into it.
Well, it's also become a very deep friendship between him and I. I've been recording with him now for well over a decade, and with all my different bands, I don't even know how many anymore. It's over 5 or 6 that have recorded with him, and so it's just become this awesome working relationship. The only regret I really have is my experience with other studios is very limited. I've only actually recorded at maybe a total of 3 studios in my fairly long musical, I don't want to say career, but hobby or whatever. Because I like going to Casey so much, he does what I want.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I think it's kind of hard to find that, you know what I mean? Somebody who just meets all of your expectations.
And also understands what you're kind of going for as well, because it's kind of like sometimes it's hard to explain ideas, especially when we're not super musical people. It's hard to explain ideas of what you want to try. Even we sometimes when we're writing, we run into those roadblocks as well, where we're trying to
No, man, you got to do more of a ba-dum bum bum.
Yeah, baka baka baka.
less kataka and more. Yeah. And Casey's good at kind of picking, because he knows me, and he knows
he knows the language
ahead of time what I'll be asking for, and obviously he knows I like big chunky guitar, big. So he ahead of time he's like, yeah, you're gonna be using this amp, you're gonna be using. I know how to set your tone, I know how you like to play, and he knows that the drums need to be really energetic sounding. That's a huge must. We're making punk rock. At the end of the day, it needs to be high energy drums, But that's I like that to say though. There is some, Eric Andrews, and he's I'm not trying to plug my other band here, but I play in another band called As Above, and he records us, and he's also a really really killer engineer as well. And for the reason that he does things very differently from Casey, which is important, you know. Like it's good to have different guys in the city that do different kind of things, you know. So,
yeah, definitely, because there's not just one way to do things, you know what I mean? And there is no there's no even like best way to do things.
Well, it would be
especially in the world of music, there is no best way of doing it, you know.
Yeah, well, it'd be such a shame if like every band in Calgary just all sounded like they came from the same studio. You know, that'd be such a bummer. It'd be so boring. So,
it's like what happened in the '80s with the kick drum or whatever.
Oh,
like
the snare, the snare. Every band had that huge snare.
Yeah, because they figured out this new recording technique of like putting a microphone in a really big room.
I think I listened to like a Cracked podcast about that. It started with "In the Air Tonight."
Yeah.
Phil Collins, because like their snare sound that they had was so huge,
and like, everybody was like, "I want my drums to sound like that."
That's like Total Eclipse of the Heart, just like. Yeah, that's right. Interesting. I didn't know that. Yeah. I mean, that's the problem. You know, 80s music is cool, but the problem with 80s pop is I like to think I've been kind of going on this rant a lot lately, actually, is I think pop music there's a lot of good pop from the 80s, except for drum machine stuff, like anything like that uses a drum machine, especially in the 80s. But there's a lot of good pop in the 80s, and I think a lot of modern pop is actually pretty good. I know I'm going to get a lot of hate for saying that, but I actually do think if you actually really listen to a lot of like the stuff that's coming on Top 40 right now, some of it's fairly creative. But the late 90s is the worst.
Late 90s, early 2000s.
Like,
we've had this conversation before.
Yeah. Oh no! Like, go listen back to like just bye. Like, it is actually so bad. Like I don't know what's going on. So
yeah, there's something that really happened in the '90s with like boy bands and stuff like that, and like
also like it also like if something spilled over into movies as well, like especially in that early 2000s range, where just everything was.
Maybe it was the birth of just like digital technology, just like we got overzealous with it in the like because the music started sounding super manufactured and the movie started really looking super manufactured. I mean, because like I said the same thing about movies. It's like the from 1999 to like 2005 is like a really shitty time for movies, except for Lord of the Rings and the first two Spider-Man movies.
But they still don't get away from it. They're not scot-free.
No, yeah, they're tainted by
like they like get Legolas riding the elephant and skateboarding and stuff.
It's there for sure.
Or what we were talking about with Aunt May and Spider-Man 2, like with her umbrella,
just like in the CG, they're just too confident with it back then. They didn't realize that it didn't look good yet. And so they're just like getting crazy with it. And then it wasn't until like I really feel like a course correction was Batman, the Batman Nolan movies, because Nolan was like, hey, like practical effects, those are still cool.
He was like going for like real. I want this to be like a psychological movie rather than like a bombastic romp of special effects. You know,
we're talking about movies again. Music's just lame. It's just like what a remake music is. Maybe we should talk about the EP, I guess.
Sure. What do you got to say about it?
I don't know. Mark, another thing he brought to it is synthesizer. There's lots of synth on this.
Yeah, we did some on Diagnostics. Like you obviously heard it.
There's a tiny.
But it was like a little bit of like just a little coat of flavoring. It was like salt, but it wasn't really like it wasn't like a huge part of a song. And we kind of like in this EP at least we try to bring those keys up to another plane,
That was totally Mark's kind of input. He really likes the idea of using a lot of keys. I mean, they're not on every song actually. They're actually only on two.
The two songs that he kind of was like the driving factor writing wise for those two songs.
That's right, and because originally when I was going into this, I've just been on the last couple of years, or at least the last year, I've been on a huge Menzingers kick. I don't know if you know the Menzingers, but they're just like a punk rock band.
I was actually just listening to them on the way here, and what was the last album they just
After the Party.
After the Party. That one's a fun album.
Yeah,
I like that
great.
album a lot.
And man, and so I was like, man, I want to make this music. Like, it didn't actually. So there's a song on the EP called Mario Kart at Amy's Apartment. which was basically my attempt at writing a Menzinger song, essentially.
Yeah.
But the rest of the EP didn't quite go in that direction. Because Mark's sensibilities are much more classic rock. So I think this EP sounds very different from what we did before. But I mean, I'm super happy with it. It sounds like the quality of it sounds really, really good. Yeah. So I don't know.
Cool. Was there like a noticeable difference in the sound that was coming out with Mark playing bass?
Yeah.
To Dan.
Compared to Dan, like Dan's got some of the best hands in the city. I think like he's a crazy.
The guy's untouchable.
Yeah, the guy's a crazy good musician, and like we couldn't expect. Especially with the amount of shows that we already had booked and like bringing in like basically when we brought Mark in, like, look, you're starting off running, like you're sprinting at this moment. Like we've got shows coming up in 2 weeks and you got to be ready.
Yeah. And it's not just originals. We know about 30 covers. So.
Yeah. Like it's not, it's like, also we're not playing one set a night either. We're doing 3, boy.
It's often what we'll do when we go out of town. Mark's style is definitely different from Dan's, but
when you're playing in a live situation, I don't feel like the energy has changed. It sounds different because the notes he's playing are a little bit different, but the energy is still there, and I think that's like the most important thing that I still pick up from it.
And Mark and I seem to have like this I don't know,
stage chemistry.
We just are making love to each other on stage. It's a lot of fun to rock out with him for sure.
Yeah.
Which is super important, because we're just a 3-piece band, right? And if you're just standing still when there's only 3 of you, like that can get really dull. So so we're just trying to. But it comes.
But like doing all that crazy stuff comes at a cost sometimes. Like we did a show at Edmonton.
Oh, this was just recently.
Yeah, like two weeks ago or something. And we were doing a song, and just out of nowhere, like I'm playing, and I see out of the corner of my eye, Anthony just kind of stops moving, like altogether, and his guitar is up on his chest, and it's like his strap is on the ground and everything. And it's like, oh.
No, and it wasn't just my strap came off the pegs. I have strap locks, because I know I move around a lot. It was like the screw got stripped, and like so like it was just fucked, and I was like, oh no, and I could so the sound guy thinks, oh, his strap came off. I'll run up on the stage and like put it back on for him, and then he like I see him coming. I'm like, oh man, you can't help me, and he like comes up and he like tries to realizes it's the whole screw. That
and we're still doing the song.
Yeah, we're still playing. And
we're doing the song.
He just like looks and he's like, oh, you're on your own. Goes back and like, yep, just like holding it, like trying to. It's a cover we're doing at a popular one too. So and I'm it can't mess it up because people will know. But luckily I had my backup guitar. We struggled through that and I switched guitars. But yeah, it was it was an
event. That's the cost of it. That's the cost of trying to be entertaining on stage. Really, is like you can run into that situation very frequently. Even at the next show that we had at the Sewing Machine Factory, like the stage is so shallow on that in Sewing Machine Factory. It's still like a great place to play, but the stage is just really shallow. And like I was noticing you were like just centimeters away from my crash cymbal. I was you're gonna tip this over, man. Just like
that being said, though, the Sewing Machine Factory's had us twice now and placed rules. One funny story that I don't want to forget about. I want to bring it up right now. This has happened just recently. We went to go play Medicine Hat. The
infamous Medicine Hat. Well, actually, both times we went to Medicine Hat, there was a bit of a debacle.
Yeah, it's been an eventful. We like Medicine Hat, nothing against it, but we had some interesting
bad luck.
So we're about
I'd say an hour away.
Yeah, and Will's just like fuck, or I believe you said shit. I don't know.
I just started thinking. I just like my eyes just what I had. I just remembered did I pack a snare drum? I can't remember if I packed my snare drum. I'm pretty sure I grabbed everything else, but was my snare drum there? And my parents were having company over at the house, so I was trying to grab my stuff and go, so I wasn't really bothering anybody. And so, but sure enough, I was like, we gotta pull over. We have to check if I have my snare in the back.
No snare.
No snare. No
so
snare.
we're like, what are we gonna do? We're the only band tonight, and like we don't really know anybody in Medicine Hat, and like it was gonna be too late. By the
I
time
sent a
we got
few
there.
messages out to like a band that we played with in Medicine Hat the time before, which we'll get into that time as well.
Yeah,
but,
we should probably talk about that too.
But I texted them and there was no message, and like you can't really expect a message in that situation.
We were like 2 hours away from having to play.
Yeah.
So we were just like, what? No snare. So we thankfully it was a small bar where you'd have to play quieter anyways. I mean, like I guess thankfully, and so we just took.
We were like,
floor
okay,
tom.
so I think it came down to like what was I going to do, and like we just picked the floor tom because I couldn't use the rack tom because the rack tom is too deep, so it'd be like playing like it would be up on my chest, and I can't really play drums when it's up that high, so I had to use my floor tom, and we took Anthony's wallet chain. And like taped it onto the skin, and then we threw a shirt. We put a shirt over it, and you know what? It fucking worked.
We had people dancing. I mean, like we were like looking at each other, like wow, people were dancing. And we're like, I can't believe we're getting away with.
We're getting away with this right now.
We are playing with a show without a snare drum.
It was so taxing. Like to make it kind of work, you have to like really work your snare arm so that it has that like. That poppy sound to mimic a snare, but you can't really like mimic a snare.
We just had to turn down our instruments and like just like I don't know, but we did it. You know, we got out of it alive.
3 sets later, we made it.
3 sets like that, like no snare. Yeah, and then the other time we went to Medicine Hat, which was before this, was the death of our tour vehicle because I hit a deer or. We hit a deer.
We hit a deer, yeah.
It just demolished my RAV4, and I had to get a new car. But it was a good show that night.
Still. It was a fun show. It was just like when you're in the middle of nowhere and you hit a deer, it's like
yeah. Well, we decided to drive back to Calgary at like 3 a.m, and it was freezing that night. I remember being so cold. Like,
yeah, it was really cold.
Yeah, just had to wait for
but luckily, like we were talking to was it AMA that picked us up? Yeah, we were talking to the AMA guy or whoever you were talking to.
Tow truck guy, whatever.
He was saying that like this little stretch, which is between Bassano and Cluny, is notorious for deer hits. Like it's just nonstop deer hits in that area. And we probably should have known better than like driving like in that area at 3 o'clock in the morning. But you know, rock and roll, man.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I mean, it could have happened in the daytime. Who knows? It's deer. You know, there's nothing you can do. It was just annoying though because I got to rent a car from my insurance company for 1 week, but then I had a trip to New Orleans planned, like at the end. So it's like I needed to buy a car before I left, you know, like, and I did, but like, yeah. So anyways, Medicine Hat's great, you know.
Great little town there.
No, but seriously, the shows were fun. I do want to play it again. I mean, like we've had.
Oh, we will. We definitely will. There's some really cool places there to play. Actually, both places that we played there were fun.
We've had a lot of great out of town experiences in the past year with Mark. We've had a lot of fun just going and playing these different towns.
I'd say there's like Fernie was a huge like.
Yeah, Fernie's great.
I think Fernie was kind of like a water or not like a benchmark sort of thing. It was like, man, that was like a great night. It was still one of those three set sort of night, but like. No matter what was going on, like either the DJ, we actually kind of like grooved with the DJ a lot because he would as soon as we stopped playing, he would like immediately come up with like a punk pop sort of like thing to follow us after we got off stage or like immediately when we stopped playing. So the party kept going, and then we would like look at him, nod our head, and he'd stop the music, and then we'd go into it.
Yeah, it was good. Yeah. I mean, I played this bar in Fernie called the Royal, and there's also the Brick House. Oh man, I don't know with my other bands. Dozens of times, well, not dozens, a dozen times maybe, lots of times over. And Fernie's just it's a crazy place. We're actually playing Revelstoke a couple weeks from now.
Oh, that's dope.
For 2 nights actually at the last drop.
Which has never happened before. No band's ever asked us to come back twice in these towns.
Yeah, no, that's not true.
No,
yeah, no. There are a lot of emails I don't tell you guys about when I just don't feel like I don't want to do that show.
Oh.
Yeah, lots of the time. But I know you're a skier as well. I mean, we've been skiing together, so
yeah.
Revelstoke, I'm super stoked because that means since we get to do 2 nights there, I get to I don't even have to wake up that early because it's like right by the ski hill. I
That's
go
awesome.
skiing for the day, and
Yeah.
so I'm super excited for that. And Revelstoke's a dope mountain.
Oh, I actually went for the first time just this year at the beginning of the season. Like, hands down, probably one of my favorite mountains to ride. It's so cool.
Actually, well, Whitney and I, we like a bunch of friends rented like a lodge last time we were there and like stayed there for like a few days or whatever. It was Anyways, skiing is cool.
Yeah. Music, movies, all of it. It's all cool.
Yeah.
This is a really random one, but it's okay. Yeah, I mean, it's only a 6-song EP, so it doesn't really feel like there's much like where we like it. Like, I don't know. I mean, the song Mario Kart in Amy's Apartment was an art project. Like
That music video was like
the whole thing was like, I came home one day and I just sat down and I like wrote the chorus to the song anyways. Just like in one like thought, and then I was like, okay, this is gonna be like the single. Like, nothing else had been written for the EP, and it's like, and I want a music video for it. So I started like making. I mean, for people that don't know, I like to make little cartoons, and I started like animating for this video for a song that had not even started being written. Like, I was like, because I was like, I had the whole idea, the whole song ahead of time ready to go, and so it was so finally finishing it and putting out the video and all this was like this like giant just like I don't know what it's like, giving birth, I guess. It's the closest way I could.
I think there's people out there that would highly disagree with you.
Oh, what do women know? But it was like a big, like, it was just like a huge undertaking, this whole idea I had, and it felt so good to finally finish it, because I'm really happy with all of it. So and it was like, cool, because like spent so much time. One of the biggest compliments that I got with Diagnostics was just that the lyrics were cool. And that I've never gotten that before. I've like written songs for my other bands, but no one's ever said anything about lyrics before.
Yeah. The lyrics were really cool. They were like relatable to me in like this weird, like nostalgic way.
And that's awesome. Like, I love and so because I get reception like that from Diagnostics, like, man, like, so people actually like listen, like
Yeah.
So
shit.
So I was like, wow. So like I went on like this trip to New Orleans and like another one to the Vancouver Island, and that's just basically I would just bring a notebook with me and just like I was like if people actually listen to lyrics, like that means that like I really need to like put a lot of thought in. So I had a lot of fun because I never ever put much thought into writing lyrics until the Galacticas, really, because before this I was in like a band called Conniving Cadavers, which is a horror punk band, which is a lot of fun, but it was like we
There are lyrics I think are quote boop boop ska ba doop doop boop boop bop bop.
There is a song with scat in it, yeah, for sure. There was just like the Misfits, so we like watched horror movies together and like, let's write a song about that. We didn't really think about it too much, so yeah. And then other than that, I was always just like a backup guitar player, so it's just been so much fun being able to actually like write songs, like I didn't think I would like it as much as I do, so yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, so this EP has been a great. That being said, though, I can't take all the credit. Mark, the songs he sings on, which is another cool thing about the EP, is we're pretty much like a dual vocalist band now. Mark sings almost half the time now, and his a lot of the songs he'll be singing on the EP he wrote the lyrics for as well. So
yeah, I think Cosplay and I mean I don't know when you're planning on releasing this podcast, but I'm sure when people see the CD, like they'll kind of know which songs are songs Mark wrote, because he's kind of like pretty prevalent in those songs.
Whatever Mark sings, he wrote, essentially.
Yeah.
it's the easy. There's maybe a couple spots where that's not the case, but for the most part, yeah. And so it's kind of cool to have like another songwriter, bouncing off ideas from each other. So,
yeah, for sure. Like, I'm sure that's like really beneficial for the both of you. Just it's always good to like have somebody who like is on the same page as you and like kind of knows what you're talking about and like how hard it is to like do things and stuff,
but still willing to do something different.
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, there was a disagreement, so there's the lyric.
My job is to disagree. I think that's the important thing that I bring to this table.
I'm pretty sure, Mark, you don't. There's a lyric on one of the songs where I just thought it'd be funny to stop saying references and just go like I say something something.
No, I like
Charizard.
that part.
You like okay? So I say something something Charizard just because it's kind of meta. It's like okay, like I know how goofy we are just referencing shit. And I'm just gonna just straight something something Charizard, and I'm pretty sure Mark didn't like the idea. And so we have like these like kind of back and forth like that, but for the most part, it came together really seamlessly. Actually,
Yeah, it was the first time we kind of like had like debates, kind of like lyric wise, like what words were going to be said. Because on Diagnostics, we didn't really like think about that because it was like,
well, it was mostly just
it was mostly just kind of you
Just
doing
me
doing the words. I remember debating with you about words and like how to say words, specifically how to spell words. That's a constant.
Oh, my set lists are fun.
His set lists are like,
can I spell things today?
His set lists are a nightmare. Like every time we play, like he writes out a set. I give him a pen and paper, and I'm like, write the set list, and I get it back, and it's a travesty written on paper. It's just like. I remember like Armageddon had like it had one Armageddon something like that. It was missing like a letter, and then that letter ended up in like Alberta Girls. Like
what was Diagnostic? It was like or whatever. I don't know. I just like nothing because I'm just like it's a bar. It's dark. I'm just like whatever. And I also like don't have an education. So yes.
Man, sometimes when I try and spell words and like I know how to spell and like how the word should be and stuff, but like you go to spell the word and it's just like completely like so wrecked that like spell check can't even help you.
Yeah.
Well, big ones like like tattoo. Is it 2 O's or is it 2 T's?
That's a big word for you. That's a big word for you.
Whenever it's double letters.
I'm glad that this is recorded because he said tattoo is a big word.
It's a difficult
whenever
one.
whenever there's 2 letters, it's like, oh, what's going? Where are the 2 letters again?
Yeah. And it's on both of them. It's like, ooh.
Yeah. What's happening? Yeah, no, I actually like to read books, but I'm very bad at writing. It's a problem.
Yeah.
That's why I am a whelp.
I just have a stick up my ass for it because I went to school for writing. So like I see these things and it's just like like I remember last. I think you did like a pass at the Diagnostics like back cover. And you sent it to us like, how does this look? And I was like, this is spelled all wrong.
Yeah, well, I was hoping you'd take care of it. So, yeah.
That's what editors are for.
Yeah, I know.
I don't think I've ever released a EP or an album that doesn't have at least one spelling error somewhere on it. Except I don't think this one does.
Because I made it.
But you did forget something that I haven't actually mentioned to you.
What did we forget?
You forgot to include Mark as a keyboard player in the instruments.
Oh, that's not a spelling mistake.
No, but it's a thing. I don't know.
It's a thing. I know. I know what you mean.
Yeah. And so the cover is I've had this idea for those of you who are listening. That ever since I was in this old band called Deluge, I really wanted to do a sad winky face as just a logo. I just thought it was the funniest thing. I don't know why. Just like a winky face, but it's sad. I don't know.
Yeah.
And at the time Deluge I remember they kind of liked the idea, but we had other things going on, and so I just saved it to this day, and I'm so happy to finally have it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
I was talking to the drummer of the Night Terrors. And the Night Terrors are basically like it's Dave and Kurt from Deluge, like his old band, and Nathan, the drummer, is from In Search of Sasquatch. And I think I was talking to him about that, and they mentioned that they saw because we've posted that cover already.
Yeah.
And I think Nathan was like, yeah, I heard that was an idea in Deluge days, but then scrapped.
Yeah, no, because I was playing drums in Deluge. I'm like, how cool would it be to have a drum skin that is just a sad winky face? Because I was like, oh, guys, I want to do this. I mean, I'm pretty sure Dave, the singer, he I remember him thinking it was actually a good idea, but he was kind of in charge and he had other ideas, so. Whatever, I kept it. And here it is. For better or for worse, it's very weird, very simple, but that was the idea.
And like once it's kind of funny, like the winky face, the cover of it kind of like spawned the song Emoticon, because we were like, what should we call the album? And I think either Mark or I were like, let's just call the album Emoticon because it's an emoticon on the thing.
But we have to have a song called that. I refuse to like release a randomly named album. I like need to have like the song.
I think that's a ridiculous refusal. It's called poetry, man.
Yeah, I don't.
It's art. Nobody cares.
Okay, whenever you like, but when you buy an album of some band, and then it has a really cool album name. And then you're thinking, but there's no song that references it, and you're thinking, well, that would be a cool song, you know, like
I've never thought that.
Well, then you're an idiot. No.
Like Sum 41 like does this look infected?
Yeah, but that's a stupid name, anyways. Actually, that's their best album, though.
I spent so much time with you. I'm just so exhausted by you now.
I mean, I was gonna say that I think that like having an album name that's different from a song name or whatever, I was like, that's like a progressive rock thing to do. But then I like started thinking about all these progressive rock bands. I'm like, no, they still have album names that are song names.
Yeah,
you
well,
know?
like Pink Floyd's Dark Side of the Moon. There's a song called that on Dark. Right? Like, yeah. So, well, actually, and I'm saying all this. And I was just talking about Deluge. Deluge never, ever. All of our albums were named random things that had nothing to do with we never had the song name referenced anywhere, or the title referenced anywhere in any of the songs. And I remember always arguing with about it. But Dave liked the idea of like having the title of the album, which like you're saying.
Yeah, I love that kind of stuff.
Poetry, yeah, whatever.
It's poetry, man. It's poetry.
It just feels like a waste.
Well, it's kind of like a movie name. And then they say the name of the movie just in the movie, and you're just like, oh, they said it. Yes.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, exactly. Like, yeah, it would have been great if somewhere in The Empire Strikes Back.
The Empire Strikes Back! It's Han Solo just screaming it.
Right? See how cool that would have been?
All right, I see your point.
Oh man, that'd be
how much you want to bet that was an argument in there? Like somebody was like, yeah, I think you should say it.
Well, if you Star Wars title names are we're back on Star Wars. I'm just gonna
can't escape it. We're back on it.
Just when you think about it, they're all pretty, except for Return of the Jedi. They're all pretty shitty names. Like The Empire Strikes Back is kind of a deliberately. It sounds like an old same with Attack of the Clones, especially Attack of the Clones. But I think they're deliberately supposed to sound kind of old school, like
like those like adventure serials. In the 30s and 40s. You know?
Yeah. Because I mean, and famously or not famously enough, I guess A New Hope wasn't actually the name of the first one.
Yeah, I was about to mention that. I was like, wasn't it just called Star Wars?
It wasn't. Yeah, they changed it to when it was re-released in theaters in the 80s. Yeah. They added the whole A New Hope Episode 4 thing to that scroll at the beginning. So technically, George Lucas has been meddling with the original trilogy since the early 80s.
Okay.
Yeah. If you think about it.
Yeah.
He was the original Kanye West of just going back and tinkering with stuff. Yeah. Do you guys listen to Kanye West at all? Oh man. Okay.
But now I got a great way to. I'm going to segue back to the EP using that thought because I am that very thing. There's an EP, there's a song on this EP, it's a bonus song called Going to Hell, which is basically me Kanye Westing like an old song. It's an old, originally it was a Conniving Cadavers song, but then that band broke up, and then I was in this band called Black Earth, and we made that song called Going to Hell. But we just kind of abandoned it, and the lead singer, she didn't like it very much, and I'd written the song, so and then we just started playing it live because Mark joined the band and we needed easy stuff to teach him, and it was really easy, and people started liking it, so I was like, sure, and so we just put it on this EP as a bonus song. So, and I've recorded this song now. It's got to be about 3 or 4 times that song has been recorded.
Well, didn't Alberta Girls was basically the same thing as well? It started off as a different song,
for Black Earth,
for Black Earth. I think all the verses were different, but the chorus, kernel,
the melody of Alberta Girls, Sci-Fi and Rock and Roll. It was all part of this Black Earth song. You can actually hear it too. If you like the song Alberta Girls, Sci-Fi and Rock and Roll, if you look up Black Earth, my old band on Bandcamp, there's a song called Open Eyes, which is the same. The chorus's melody is the same thing, and it has that kind of riff in it. You'll definitely hear the similarities. But Black Earth abandoned the song. It wasn't released on any CDs or anything like that. It was just, we just left it on the Bandcamp, so it just kind of sat there. And I was like, oh, it's a waste of a good stuff, you know. So I took it and I reclaimed it.
It's mine.
Yeah.
I mean, like, that's just part of, I feel like that's just part of the creative process, you know what I mean? Like, as you evolve as musicians, you look back at some of your old stuff and you're like, this has so much potential to be so much better. Do you know what I mean?
I mean,
Yeah.
this is a debate that a lot of music, like, is it, should you do this? Should you recycle old material? And I think 100% absolutely you should, because what if you wrote something awesome, but because of maybe the recording quality, your particulars, whatever, it just didn't get heard by particular ears? Why let it die?
Yeah.
Why let it go to waste in obscurity when you could make... And I did. Like, I think Alberta Girls Sci-Fi and Rock and Roll is a great song. And it's because I just was like, no, like, I refuse to let this awesome idea just go to pasture, you know?
Yeah.
But some people are like, oh, you're just, like, you're not being original. I mean, I guess that's true. I feel like I got enough originality still coming out.
Well,
so.
yeah, and it's still an original song, right? It's not like you're ripping someone off.
And really,
That's true. I'm ripping myself off. Yeah.
Yeah, and really, how many people are gonna call you out on it at the end of the day?
A couple people have.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Maybe like 4.
How many of them weren't in one of those bands that you were in?
No, they were all. I don't actually think that Black Earth. The guys at Black Earth care at all about that. So
Really?
yeah,
Okay.
no, these were just like randos, but yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, but yeah. So we put I made sure that the asterisk bonus song is next to Going to Hell on this EP, because I know there's a lot of people that remember that song from Black Earth, and they're gonna call me out on it for sure. And I'm waiting for those arguments. I'm just waiting for.
I actually listened to a podcast one time. It was about this very thing. It was actually about the song Hallelujah, and how long it actually took Leonard Cohen actually. He wrote it like so long ago before it actually became popular, and he like reworked it and like brought it forward until it became like the huge success that it actually was. But like the basis of the podcast was like basically about just like the creative process, and like how sometimes you make songs and they just come out and they're perfect, and then there's other songs that need this they're good, the idea is solid, but they need like evolution through time to become those greats.
Yeah, and in my opinion, he didn't even figure it out himself. It was Rufus Wainwright or whatever who actually figured out how to make that song sound cool.
Yeah.
The one that was used in the Shrek soundtrack or whatever.
Yeah.
I don't really understand the Leonard Cohen version. It's kind of weird the way he sings it, but I don't know.
I think that's just how Leonard Cohen sings.
I don't know. I'm not
I
sure
think I remember seeing a video of him like winning a Juno, and he was like, only in Canada can I win a Best Vocalist award.
Right, yeah. No, but that's so true though. Like, and because a lot of people I will talk to will say no, like, move on. You know, like, you made it, you wrote it, it's gone now. Move on. Like, let the past die. Kill it if you have to. And then and I'm just like, no, like, if it's cool, don't be afraid to bring it back. You know, like, I've talked to guys like this
with more special effects this time.
Yeah.
Way more tire.
Oh yeah, like
more tauntauns.
In 5 years, we're bringing back Diagnostics, and it's gonna have dewbacks walking around in the background. It's gonna have Jabba the Hutt CGI'd, going ho 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 in the background of the Alderaan song.
Well, we'll actually copy and paste the Return of the Jedi like musical number that ooh eat day.
Yeah. That's coming. Don't worry. Yeah. I mean, like, obviously, every time I listen back to anything I've put out, that's the first thing I want to do. Is like, man, like, I want to just, like, there's so many cool ideas I want to add to this, but yeah, eventually you do have to separate yourself for sure.
Yeah.
Especially once enough people have heard it, you kind of do have to recognize that. That's what it's gonna be.
And you don't want to spend too much time on it either, because like maybe sometimes time would be a bad idea in that circumstance. Then you're throwing in too much stuff, or you're overthinking something that you really like, but then you're like, I don't know if this should be here. This, like, even in writing this album.
Well, exactly. So, like, for instance, Mark from like our bass player, his band, the Bandolier Brigade, they record all their stuff themselves in their own studio that they have at their house, and the process like like it's got its merits because it means it can take as much time and do whatever. But in my opinion, I actually kind of like the slapdash, like running gun. We got this much time and we got to get it done. Because sure, maybe it leaves maybe you don't think of all the ideas you could, but because you have this like restraint, it forces the good ideas out of you, and like it forces you to let things go and like not pick at them too much.
Do you know who Dan Harmon is?
Yeah.
You know. I think he was doing an interview where like most of like all the episodes that all his episodes of TV that he's mostly written were all written like 2 days before they had to like get shot, because it's that mentality where like you're on like the great stuff has to come out of you right now, and that's how like you're forcing yourself to be great at that time, and in some cases it works really really well.
Yeah. So there are a couple songs on the EP, this new EP, that are very much that. Diagnostics actually has a bit more. There's a couple songs on there like Alleyways that we like wrote real quickly. Or
rotoscoping.
Rotoscoping was like weeks before the studio.
Last Ditch was like a day before.
it was days before. Yeah, now I think about it, we were really
on point for this album actually.
We were more prepared than normal. Because like I said, I had gone on these trips to write the lyrics, and like so the songs were way more figured out ahead of time this time. Maybe that's a good thing. Maybe that's a bad thing. I don't know.
I think it's a good thing. I think on this album, or like this EP specifically, there's definitely more of a musicality to it. I think we're like, instead of going a simple pop punk direction, like a 4-chord pop song, there's different things that we're doing here. Like there are like weird time signature changes where especially in the songs that like Mark kind of took the lead on, because we're kind of following this more prog punk sort of thing.
Prog into it.
Yeah. And I think it's good. That we kind of throw these like different feels.
I'm a punk rocker too at heart, but yeah, no, it's we haven't a couple of them are still kind of too tough for us to play live. We have to get better at them. I'm trying to think of a way to segue this so I can start like mentioning other bands and sounding really nice. Just like listing off other bands. I really like this band and this band. But,
well, do you guys have any favorite bands that you have played with this year?
Yeah. But at the same time, that's risky because what if I miss one?
I think I know it's gonna be like kind of a like a cop out answer, but I think we are really lucky. In being in our situation and playing with all the bands that we do and playing all the shows that we do, that we have a really good relationship with a lot of the bands that we do end up playing with.
Everyone's been so cool.
And especially like out of town, like Edmonton has been like a second home for us in some ways. Like I love going out there, and all the bands that we play with in Edmonton.
One Kill Wonder was awesome.
Yeah, One Kill Wonder.
They're like kind of like a alternative rock band, and then I don't know, Sessions
from Lethbridge.
The skate punk guys are good buds of ours. A lot of these out of town bands have been really kick ass. I don't know. Now off the top of my head, I don't want to screw up.
Oh well, I mean, like we don't play. I don't even remember the last time we played Calgary, per se. But like I said, man, like everybody's been like Alberta's got the best music scene. Period. I think in my like uneducated opinion,
it is really good. The Alberta music scene, Calgary specifically, and Edmonton too. Like we got a great thing in Edmonton. Just like it is underrated. Like what we have going on in this city.
Yeah.
It is truly incredible, and I've been around for a while, and I can say like it's probably never been better, honestly.
Yeah.
I think people are just kind of like, there's like the ego has kind of checked at the door sort of thing. You know?
People don't have time for jerk rock star people anymore. That's like not cool anymore.
And like the amount of times that I've heard that from so many different bands, and like different bands that have played in these like, I guess Canadian music hubs and stuff. Like people say about Toronto is like, people are kind of dicks in Toronto when it comes to the music scene, because it's more dog eat dog,
So Vancouver. I hear that a lot about Vancouver.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think I was talking to Eli from Mademoiselle this past. They just had a show with Sellout, their last all ages show, and I was talking to her, and they were. I think it was her. she was talking about Vancouver and how Vancouver, like if you want to play a show there, then you have to put like a $200 down
Yeah.
deposit on the venue.
It's West Coast for you. California's the same way.
Yeah, and it's like, man, like that blows. You know, you're not making $200 that night, so.
Well, that's the idea. It's like, oh, you want to play at our bar? Well, you better be popular enough to be able to make your money back, and you pay to play. Thank God Calgary doesn't do that. Wow, thank God. Oh, man.
No.
Yeah.
And like I don't think promoters or anything like that will dare do it because like we do have a good thing here. I don't think anybody wants to fuck it up in any sort of way.
I mean, again, like we owe this to Graham from Major Minor. He kicks ass.
Graham,
same with of
BJ,
course BJ, and Clint.
Clint at Verns. We have the Verns conversation a lot, and that's kind of like the beating heart of the music scene, but the beating heart that most people don't like. I think the regular world kind of doesn't know about. It's like it's supposed to be like it's in a pretty like epicenter part of this. It's like 9th Ave.
I was actually just at Verns last weekend to see not Mademoiselle.
That Anniversary or something.
Yeah, well, it's Less Miserable, Julia Sumner Miller.
It was Less Miserable, Julia Sumner Miller, self-help books, which we
and Cheap Beer.
And we played with self-help books before at the VAT in Winnipeg.
That's not Winnipeg.
Oh no, Red Deer.
Anyways, awesome show. Like Cheap Beer is cool. Have you ever heard of Cheap Beer?
I've heard of them. Yeah.
You should get them in here. They're like super classic '80s hardcore style. Like and just like man, like their front man just is awesome. Like he just kills it. Less Miserable. You haven't had them, have you?
No.
Okay, yeah. They're very I mean, they're kind of like the Galacticas in a way. They're like kind of punk rocky, like poppy sort of stuff. Yeah.
I think they've got a little bit more teeth than us.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah, I think their songs are a little bit more I think edge on the punk side, but they still has like a pop sensibility into it, which is awesome. Like you'll like there's some songs of Less Miserable that you'll recognize, like you'll know the lyrics.
Stuck in your head. Yeah, they're killer. James, I believe he writes the songs.
I think he writes the songs.
He's just got a really like I'm jealous of how great he is at. Like there's some guys like in the city, like Pizza Bat's another one. Like Sean Hamilton is an awesome songwriter, and just like you're just like man, like these guys like it gives you motivation to up your game.
Yeah. I actually just talked to him and Misha, Misha and the Spanks.
Yeah, another great band.
Yeah, that was a really cool conversation. Like just them being around so long in the scene and stuff like that, and just. Yeah, Sean Hamilton is a talented musician for sure.
Oh
yeah, he's really good looking too. It's like, like
how dare you?
Yeah,
be this good, this talented, and this good looking.
No, he's a great guy. I've known him for a long time too, and he's always been super cool. Pizza Bath. I don't think we've actually played with them before, have we?
No. I think we wanted to have them onto our EP release.
Oh, they were supposed to, but Eric's
out of the country, right, so it wasn't gonna work.
So Ghost Factory couldn't do it either. That's right.
Yeah, which would have been great to have Ghost Factory to end our show again. Like every time we do a release, Ghost Factory ends. We made
them. At our Diagnostics release, we made Ghost Factory headline, so we didn't have to play last.
We're those assholes.
We're not doing that this year. No,
we'll play last this time.
We'll play last.
Yeah, might as well. At the time, not really many people knew us back then. I just kind of thought,
Well, especially like our first show at Verns, like. It was kind of like a reveal party for us, but like nobody cares about us really, like especially at that point. So you want a bigger established band to kind of carry out the night. Yeah. And then we did that again to them at the Diagnostics party, which I am not sure if they were too happy about. But
they got wasted and had fun.
Yeah. It was also your birthday that night, so you wanted to hang out.
That was another thing. Is like, I don't want to have to play last on my birthday. Nuts to that. So. It was my 30th birthday. That's right. So I pulled the dick move, and I mean they knew way ahead of time. I was like, okay, but can you guys like headline our CD release? I'm not the first one to do that though. I know lots of bands that have pulled that because they don't. I mean a great you want to sell CDs and you want to do it with some while people are still around. Yeah. So and it's hard to sell CDs when you're not like at the merch table. You're playing, so it's like so it's good to have like some space afterwards as well. So
also you want to enjoy your own CD release. I feel
totally.
Yeah.
CD CD releases are like weddings. Again, I'm making this like comparison to something I have no idea about. But like, you know, like I remember going to this wedding in the summertime and talking to the bride, and she's a good friend of mine, and I was like, oh, so great. And she's like, yeah, I kind of wish I could have just gone to this instead of like having to be the main thing going on, because like I'm so stressed out all the time. And
well, wedding planning is a nightmare. Like,
well, that's what I mean, and so it's like it'd be nice to just attend your own wedding instead of actually like have to plan it.
I don't think shows it can be like as far as like event planning goes for shows. It's book the show, make sure you bring the merch.
Oh no, man! When I book CD release parties, I'm always stressed out of my mind.
Really?
Oh. Yeah. Yeah, well, I'm in charge, right? Like, I've got to make sure everything... The bar is expecting me to deliver on this thing. I asked them for this, you know, so I have to... You know, so it's like I'm not looking forward to our CD release. You know, like, I'm excited to play, but, like, the stress that's going to come with the night's going to be, you know.
It'll be fine. It'll be fun. Yeah. I can't wait. I think it's going to be great.
Oh, yeah, I know. Yeah,
well, as soon as you step on the stage, like, I always get, like, pre-stage fright. Doesn't matter what show it is or what, like... that 5 minutes out where you're just like the next band's finished up their last song. I always have that like, man, all right, here we go. Like, this could suck. And then once you like first step on the stage, it's done. Like, you're just back to work now. Yeah.
Like, honestly, like I probably get that exact feeling before I do literally almost anything.
Yeah.
Like podcasts, just social situations. I'm like, this is gonna fucking suck. Like,
oh yeah, social situations. I'm a damn nightmare at.
But then I get into it, and it's just like, oh, like why was I worried about this? You know what I mean? This is fun. This
right.
Is,
yeah. I mean, the stage. The best way to do it, I find, is when you get up on stage, you just gotta like throw yourself at the people by just yelling at them, being like, "Hey, like it doesn't matter who they are, I'll do it." Basically, you just gotta like you like acknowledge the fact that you're just some loser making noise on stage, and the people can leave if they want, you know. Like, you know,
exactly.
Yeah, like you just gotta own it, and it's the only way, because it's definitely it's not like after all these years it's gotten any easier. It's just like I've just kind of figured out how to kind of fake it better.
I think that's like the perfect analogy for life too.
Yeah.
You don't get better, you just get better at faking.
Yeah, it never gets better.
Yeah. You look at your parents when you're a kid and you think they got it figured out, and then you get into your 30s or whatever, and you're just oh shit, they didn't know shit.
Yeah.
The facade fades away.
Yeah. That's one of the that's actually one of the biggest things, like realizations I had about my parents was, I'm like, they had me when they were 30. I'm like getting towards 30, and I'm like, I'm not ready for a kid at all. You know?
Yeah. I talk about this a lot. It should be a big deal when you turn the age that your corresponding parent of your particular gender was when they had you.
Yeah.
I think that should be an important birthday that we should celebrate, because that means that you can now start comparing your life to theirs in a more like tangible way. It's kind of hard to explain, but like, you know, because my dad was 32, I believe, so I'll be 32 next year, so I can all of a sudden be like, okay, so when my dad was 32, he was in this part in life, and where am I now that I'm 32? You know, like, you know, I never mind you.
I totally get exactly what you mean, because I'm approaching that age. Like, I'm like a year and a half away from the age where my dad had me, and like
so you can finally start comparing yourself to him.
And just being like, this is where they were at, and like I'm nowhere near there, you know. Like,
well, I mean, we got lots of excuses. We're baby boomers. We're millennials. We have no
economy.
Well, it's true. I mean, jeez. I mean, I've been a journeyman welder for fucking over a decade. I can't afford a damn house. I should be a guy in the 50s with the same kind of income that I had could have like kids and a wife that stayed at home and like a car and stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
you live in a hole in the ground.
Yeah, I know. I was thinking about buying a house, and so I phoned my mom, and I was just like, so I'm looking at buying a house. When you guys moved to Calgary in the 80s, like, what did you guys buy? Like, I got a house like in near Ron. It was like a 3-bedroom. I was like, what did you guys pay for that? She's like, oh yeah, we had $60,000. And I was like,
Fuck you.
$60,000, like, for a 3-bedroom house, you know, like basement and everything. Like,
Yeah, exactly.
the house that I live in now is I'm renting. It's in Bankview, so it's a nice area, but it's not. It's like a 3-bedroom, same sort of thing. It's $700,000 when it was for sale.
Jesus.
Right, like what the?
And you still gotta duck your head when you like go into it. Like it's still small.
That's for you tall people's problems. I'm okay.
Yeah, you are short.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it was the same with my parents. Like their first house, it was like what, 60 grand or something like
Yeah.
that, and that was like, again, yeah, 3 bedrooms, like full basement, everything, and all that, and you're just like,
It's crazy.
like I almost make that in a year. You know what I mean? So like,
Oh yeah, it's
Yeah.
like what are you supposed to do? You know? Yeah. So I mean, and then now there's all this talk. It's like, well, maybe buying isn't really the best investment anymore, anyways, because you know all the costs add up. So it just means that I want a dog.
Yeah.
You know, I want a dog, and I can't do that if I keep living in basement suites. You know, I want big dogs.
Yeah.
Okay.
Something with like, you want some space for it to run around. And
Oh,
shit.
yeah, so I need a yard. And so,
Yeah.
it's unfortunate. So we just make rock and roll instead. And
Yeah.
and fortunately, the Galacticas hasn't been much of an expense in our lives. It's because I work us to the bone. I unfortunately work these two guys. Like I feel bad. Like we play so much out of town and stuff. But then that's how we can fund this EP. And
I don't feel the pressure like as much, like compared to Mark, who has another band that he's like managing, and like he's the booker and manager and everything for that band. So I think it's a little bit more harder on him per se, but like for me, I don't really.
Okay, well, yeah, I do feel bad though about like just like I'm always trying to think about, because when I was younger and I would manage these other bands I was in, I never would be like, it's all about the band, everything's secondary, social lives, girlfriends, jobs, the band, you know, like, and now that I'm like an adult, I guess, I'm like, no, people need to be happy. So it's like, I'm always thinking, like, we've been offered some great gigs just recently, like Pizza Bob's and Vern's, and some great opportunities, but I'm like, man, like, we're playing a lot right now, like, I don't want to burn the guys out, you know, so, you know, but that is how we're able to, you know, like, the EP was pretty much funded almost 100% with band money, like, which is, you know, saying a lot. Is a $6,000 thing that's sitting right in front of you there.
Yeah,
So.
well, that's and if that's all of it, that's really good.
That's not expensive when it comes to recording. Casey Lewis is a pretty good deal for the kind of quality you get. $6,000 for a 6-song. It's about $1,000 a song is the average. So these days. The technology's gotten better now, so people are able to record themselves. So you can get really good mics and good equipment, but unfortunately, the engineering experience is what I pay for.
The engineering experience is like invaluable too. It's like having just even people who have an ear for that kind of thing is so rare, because there's so many things that are going on that you just are like, your average layperson music listener is probably not going to hear, but they make so much of a difference. Yeah,
it's so true. Yeah. So that's why we still don't, you know, because I guess maybe Mark would be cool with us recording. Speaking of which, tangent. We recently got asked to do a theme song for a cartoon show, like a little like web series. Because I got onto this because I think we will record it with Mark at his like home studio, just because we just spent so much money on that EP. So. It's called The Phone Wreckers. Apparently it's still way down the line, like to be finished, but they contacted us. I posted the video, the Mario Kart at Amy's apartment music video on Newgrounds. Remember that website? It still exists, and all of the old Galacticas videos are on there. And somebody there found it and contacted us. So that was kind of cool.
That's just like, that's the perfect example of like, put your music everywhere that you can, you know what I mean?
Oh yeah,
like,
totally.
I spent 5 months making that fucking cartoon. I'm gonna stick it wherever I can. Shamelessly, like just I don't care.
We'll spend the money on promotion. We'll do it.
Yeah, I fortunately haven't had to do. I only had to do that once with the Facebook thing, and just to get it pumped on Facebook. But other than that, it's been a pretty people been sharing it, which is like that's awesome. You know?
Yeah. Oh, that reminds me of we got like we were going to Edmonton a couple weeks ago, and like just before we left, he was telling me that
the coolest thing ever.
This kid contacted Anthony and was like, "Hey, can I cover your song on YouTube?" And like Anthony was like, "Yeah, absolutely." And like we didn't hear anything about it again. And then just before we were going to Edmonton, the kid actually, like, he's like a 13-year-old kid, 12-year-old kid, learned diagnostics on guitar and posted it on
been
YouTube.
Playing it like on his own little YouTube channel. He's like from the United States. I don't know anywhere. He says a band from Canada, so it's not from Canada.
You haven't talked to him yet? Like about sending him stuff?
Yeah, I mean to contact him to send him like a hat and an EP or whatever.
We're gonna give him everything.
Man, like that's the coolest thing ever. Like, cause I remember I was that kid, you know, like learning guitar and like looking up bands on the internet and trying to figure out how to play the songs. That's like how I started playing music, and it's just like, you know, the fact that I was like, or like, you know, we were part of some kids' experience. Like that's just like, man, that's something special.
It's the greatest compliment you'll ever get. It's like a kid, and like you can still tell he's like learning the instrument, but he's learning it to your song.
Yeah.
Right. Or the fact that he's like he
well, he did a really good job because he actually messaged me about like the chords and stuff, and I didn't like get back to him fast enough, and then he was just like, I figured it out.
Yeah.
And like by ear, which is something I could not do at his age. Not even I just started figuring out how to like transcribe stuff from ear.
Yeah.
And he did it for the most part. Like, yeah, a couple little notes that aren't correct, but for the most part, it's like pretty spot on.
Yeah,
and I'm like, wow, man! Like the fact that he sat there with a song that we wrote and like listens to it carefully over and over again and try to figure out note by note what we're playing is like, man, like what a compliment.
Yeah, that is like the best. That's the best compliment you can get from anybody, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Somebody learning your song, it's like, that's great.
Well, and especially like, I mean, even the fact that, you know, if it was a Calgary kid, that would be cool on its own. But the fact that it's like some kid from it, like I know it's the States, but it's a different country, you know? Like,
oh yeah. I mean, like it totally. A kid, no matter what, would be great. But the fact that it came from like obviously not our immediate community is something else that like, wow.
I know, it's one of the few bones I throw the internet as far as, because I'm actually pretty anti, like I don't like what the internet has done to music, and I know everyone's like, oh, it's
great. We actually kind of wrote a song about that on that EP.
That's true, yeah. The song Emoticon's kind of like that, and it's like, okay, the internet's like, people always say, oh, it's been great because it lets you get your music out there, and then some random kid in like wherever, Chicago, who knows where he's from, can learn this song. But it also just makes everything so saturated, and I kind of like, sometimes I think, how cool would it be if like, say you wanted to, if you had to like hear a band from Nova Scotia, you had to like go to Nova Scotia and like hear Nova Scotian music, and then like buy maybe like a record or a CD and bring it back and be like, yo, you guys want to hear what Nova Scotian music sounds like? Check this out. And like, this is a band that I heard, like I saw when I was there. Like, how cool would that have been? That's dead now. Like, that's gone. And I kind of like, I kind of lament that the internet has done that, you know, a little bit, you know, but at the end of the day, like, I don't care that much, I guess.
Yeah. But
well, I mean, it'd be cool if there was like a local internet, you know what I mean? Like you were connected with like your local area or whatever.
That's true. Yeah.
Well, I mean, it would be cool if the majority of the art that people consumed was local, and that like stuff like Marvel movies and Taylor Swift were like expensive special treats or whatever. Like, oh, we're gonna spend this extra money to go see this really high budget Iron Man movie. But most of the time, like the art we consume, is just like local stuff, and so that in the way local artists, you know, like everyone knows they're not the top tier stuff, but they consume it just the same.
I think we might be moving in that direction. Sorry to make it go back to movies in a way. I was actually at a theater not that long ago. Actually, when I saw Aquaman, I went to a VIP theater, and those things are wild, man. Like the seats heat up, and like you can recline in them, and there's like a little tray that comes out and has a menu where you can get like soups or like burgers or quesadillas, like the whole 9 yards. It's like a restaurant in a theater. But when my girlfriend and I went, her and I just got waters. Like we ate before we went, and we got waters just to drink while we're there. And the server came down, to ask us what we wanted, and we were like, no, we're good, we got water. And he had this like, really? You're not gonna splurge here? Like, of all places, like, you're not gonna splurge at the VIP thing? So I think it might go in that direction with like that you're. I think.
Well, I mean,
if
if the companies have their way, I mean, like, they're gonna make it so that, like, because everything, like, we can't. The freeness of the internet's going away anyways. So, but because like local stuff is so there's just so much great stuff that people just miss because they don't need to check it out. I mean, like, you got Netflix, you got every multi-million-dollar movie at your fingertips, so you don't need to check out cool little local things, which are awesome. Like and stuff like what you're doing here, like with this podcast, is so cool. You know, it's just done for like the love of it or whatever, and I mean, and that's actually a great Equalizers podcast, because I'll listen to you, and then I'll listen to Joe Rogan, who's like, you know, he's got a few more listeners than you do.
Oh yeah.
But it doesn't seem to really matter, because it's just people talking, and people can be interesting no matter where, like, how much money they come from or anything. So
yeah, exactly. Like all the podcasts I like to listen to, at least, are, you know, the ones that sound organic. Like, they don't sound like they're staged, you know, like, so just people sitting in a room and having a conversation, whatever that may be. I like to listen to that. I don't like listening to things that sound like it's an interview or there's too much production value behind it.
So you're not like a fan of like the CBC, BBC style?
Yeah, I don't listen to that stuff.
Or like Serial or something like that.
No, I don't like the
I mean, I will. I listen to everything.
Yeah.
So, but I know what you mean. Like, I like Joe Rogan because that's like unedited. I like Sam Harris and and
I guess it has to be like what I'm. It depends on what I'm doing. Would have to like dictate the podcast that I'm listening to.
Well,
like if I'm playing a video game like Fallout or something like that, it would. Like, I want something just kind of like chatting. Like, I just want, like, I'll listen to Dan Harmon podcast or something, Harmontown, because it's more chatting, and like you can kind of tune in, tune out, turn it down because dialogue is on the screen, turn it back up because like you're back adventuring, and it doesn't matter what you're doing. But say if I'm at like work or something like that, I probably would turn on like a Serial podcast or like something that's like narrated in a way.
Stuff to Blow Your Mind is a good one. It's very constructed. But I don't know, it's good. But I mean, this is the best of both worlds, because I kind of don't like it when they tangent too far sometimes.
Yeah.
So I don't know, but like here we are, like how many conversations, like the ground we've covered.
In Star Wars.
Podcast alone,
yeah. So I don't know. I mean, it's growing on me because I just started getting into Joe Rogan in the last like year, and that's exactly what it is. It's just like they'll just talk about whatever, and I do really like it. Like, I never really get bored. So unless he's talking to some MMA guy, I don't really care about MMA.
Yeah, I just stopped listening to the MMA ones.
Yeah.
Like, it's an MMA one, I'm like, delete. Don't care who it is. You're
Joe
gonna talk about MMA enough in the regular podcast.
Yeah, exactly. Bow hunting. And have you ever done DMT?
Have you ever done DMT? Wow, that's crazy, man. You ever done DMT? I love that shit.
That's a good one.
No, Joe Rogan's perfect for that kind of like, especially, you can't listen to all Joe Rogan's stuff either, because he does like 5 a week, and they're all 4 hours long.
Oh, try being a tradesman, man. Yes, you can.
all the recent ones I listen to, except for the MMA ones. Like, any of his guests that I just listen to them.
Yeah, most of the time I'll listen to whoever.
I like MMA, so I can pay attention. I know what they're talking about when it comes to MMA. And there was a time where I was like keeping up with as many as I could, and it just overloaded me. I just had too much Joe Rogan every day. Like, I was like, okay, 3 hours of Joe, let's do this.
But I have a job where that's what I do all day. Is I have 8 hours that I can just fill with podcasts.
Right.
So.
Yeah. No, there aren't enough that like in the world for me. Like, I need all of them, because I just all day I'll just be listening to podcasts. So.
I've worked in retail for so long, and like you can't do that.
You gotta talk to people.
You gotta talk to people.
I don't gotta talk to nobody.
I'm moving on to a new job in cell phone repairs, and like that's like a back of house, or like here's the phone. Figure out
just get all the Joe Rogan you want.
Yeah, I'm ready for Joe Rogan, man. Let's do it.
Just don't go down any dark rabbit holes and start. You know, I don't have to argue with you about Ben Shapiro or something like that.
But we got to make these tours more fun, man. We're running out of shit to talk about.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, we should just start arguing a whole bunch.
I've noticed there was a time where we were touring with Dan, and Dan even pointed it out as well that we were circling conversations, we were just having the same conversations over and over again. And I've now noticed we're circling conversations over and over on tour, but I just let it happen because what else are we going to talk about?
Sure. I mean, it's like being a married couple or something.
Yeah. He's kind of we'll have the same argument.
We'll have something new to talk about when episode 9 comes out.
Yeah, when that comes out. Or when The Mandalorian comes out or something like that.
Yeah. No, actually, Mark specifically doesn't. He refuses with Star Wars. He's anti-Disney.
He's big anti-corporation altogether. He's actually more hardcore punk than all of us combined.
Yeah, he likes Logan's Run.
Logan's Run, and that's it.
No, yeah, it's kind of annoying because I don't think it's. I get it. Disney's a big evil company, but I don't think that the creativity has been suffering at all. I think that. Because Disney's not one guy, or he used to be, but he's gone.
Yeah.
It's a bunch of people.
Yeah.
So there's lots of different minds going on. I mean, his argument, or a lot of people's arguments. I'm not gonna try to speak for Mark. He's not here, but is they make these movies by committee. I mean, maybe, I don't know. The Last Jedi was a gigantic risk, and Disney took it. I mean, they gave the franchise to some dude, Rian Johnson. He literally is a rando.
Which is crazy.
So, that doesn't sound committee-ish to me, So I'm still not convinced that it's bad that what Disney is doing. I'm still on the fence about it.
Well, and also it gave not a dying franchise, but it gave a franchise new life. For sure, the Star Wars franchise, Disney gave it new life. It brought Star Wars back.
Same with Marvel. Marvel was on the brink of bankruptcy when they got picked up.
That's
I think it was I think Paramount owned Iron Man.
Iron Man was a risk. Who cared about Iron Man before that movie came out?
Yeah.
I didn't fucking care about Iron Man.
I didn't give two shits about Iron
Man.
Yeah.
No, he's awesome. And so Disney does take these risks, and because they can afford to,
Yeah.
And then you hear about little things in The Last Jedi, the Porgs. The reason why their numbers are so high is because I guess there was these puffins that habitat the island, and they didn't want to remove them, so they just the Porgs were just CG'd over top or whatever, which is cool, because they're a smaller corporation might have been we don't have the money to handle these puffins, let's just get rid of them or whatever, but Disney has the money, so they can be environmental about it. So I'm not totally convinced that it's all for bad. We'll wait and see. I mean, what happens in the future with the kind of monopoly Disney's accumulating, but
it's interesting how much those guys how much they own.
But also Rogue One ends with all the motherfucking characters dying at the end. And the classic kind of idea is you can't sell action figures for characters that die, so that's why Marvel movies have been so shitty, but not killing anybody except for Infinity War. But we'll see. Yeah. But and because they want to sell these toys, so you can't sell.
That
toys
being said, though, toy stores are dying.
That's true. Yeah.
Yeah, toy stores are dying, so it's moving to the video game market anyways, and I mean we can. Why don't we get into how evil the video game corporations are?
EA! Battlefront 2, why? Why do you have the same name as a better game?
Yeah.
Both the original Star Wars Battlefronts were so much better than the new ones.
Absolutely.
I don't have a PS3. I'm living in the past. I'm playing Skyrim right now.
I also don't have a PS3 or any of the new consoles. The only reason I have played Battlefront 2 is because my younger brother has it.
Yeah. I have them all. I'm bad. I have everything now. I got the Switch. I got PS4. I was having a conversation with my girlfriend the other day, and she was like, "How much do you have?" And I was like, "PS2, Xbox 360, PS3, PS4. Yeah, it's
just all of them.
All of them. I got them all.
I stopped at Xbox 360.
Yeah. Oh, that's interesting. Yeah. No.
You can actually get the original Star Wars Battlefronts 1 and 2 on the Xbox One. They sell it on the Xbox store. And it's awesome. They don't touch it at all. They just let's just make it HD so you can play it. But other than that, it's the game still. It's still it's great. It's so much fun to play.
There's just for PS3 and Xbox 360. There's just a shitload of games I haven't tried yet.
Exactly.
And they're all $5 now or less.
Yeah.
So it's I'm okay. I don't know. I also don't really care about online at all. So
that's true.
Honestly, if I were to just go back and start playing the 360 and stuff, there's still so many games for 360 that I haven't played yet
Exactly.
that I want to play.
Yeah, like I don't know. I've never tried Dragon Age. I'm sure it's cool.
Dragon Age is amazing.
Yeah. Well, I like Mass Effect, and I know it's like the same thing, but like with dragons. So.
Yeah, it's pretty dope.
Yeah. So like that's what I mean. It's like so there's no point, and I'm just not gonna buy into it. And also, you keep hearing, like what happened. I mean, you're a Star Wars fan, right? Like, did you grow up playing in the '90s all the amazing fucking cool video games?
All of them are fucking awesome.
And there was like tons of them. And what's happened now? Like since EA bought it,
I think I saw a meme. It was like in the 6 years that EA has had that's owned Star Wars, there's been 2 Star Wars games, and 4 or 5 like mobile games. But in the 6 years between 2003 and 2009, when LucasArts were making Star Wars games, I think there was like 18 Star Wars games or something.
They were all fantastic.
Yeah,
they're all great. Like even the ones that are like kind of like okay by other game standards, like Force Unleashed or something like that, are still fun.
You could say it's. Sorry?
That was a great game.
You like Force? I played it all the way through twice. I just don't like the story. I think the story is a load of crap. But
It's just fun to be like that dude, and you're just tossing people around with force powers.
I know. Yeah.
They nailed that part. It's so much fun to like
it's
grab
just like
stormtrooper, and he grabs onto another stormtrooper, and you're like,
I don't really like the Force making you Super Saiyan. Like I kind of like it better in the original trilogy.
But it's a great game mechanic.
Yeah, for sure. But I liked it better when it was just like a thing that like helped you a bit instead of like I can bring down a Star Destroyer. I'm a god. It's just like. That gets a little out of hand for me, but I'm also an old guy. But so and I remember the PCs games they would put out. There were just so many really creative. This is gonna show my age, but I loved the original TIE Fighter. Did you ever play the TIE Fighter game?
I don't think I played the TIE Fighter game.
Oh man, you should if you have like Steam or something.
Yeah, I do.
Oh, you can find it on there.
Really?
It's from 1992. And it's a DOS game called TIE Fighter. It's a flight sim where you're in a TIE Fighter or any like all the different Imperial fighters, and it's all 3D, fully polygonal graphics, and the just the level of detail it went into. You have to have a joystick to play it. But it's so good. Like, and look up any review for TIE Fighter. It's like considered one of the best Star Wars games. Anyways,
when I was
TIE Fighter
on TIE Fighter,
Grand Admiral Thrawn is in the game, and this came out in like '92, so like a year after that book was written. So like, I imagine like Star Wars fans at the time were just like fucking blowing their loads down the street when they saw, like.
When I was a kid, when we were playing TIE Fighter or even like X-Wing. Because
X-Wings actually comes out before,
X-Wing. It's the same thing. It's the same thing, but with like different storyline. But we used to like, he had it on his computer, and you had to play with a joystick. But we put like a blanket over us in the computer screen, and he would sit behind me, and I'd be in front of him, or like we switch off, and we'd just be like, we're in Star Wars land. We're TIE fighters.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. Oh yeah.
It was so much fun.
Yeah. So it's a shame what's happened with that, because Star Wars, it makes for good video games.
Oh, yeah.
Even fucking Pod Racer, the game's awesome.
Yeah, it's a sick racing game.
Yeah.
It's the best thing to come out of the Phantom Menace.
And they tried everything too, because they have a racing game, they have a flying game, they had a fucking first-person shooter commando game.
Republic Commando.
Which is actually pretty good.
That's my favorite Star Wars game of all time. It's so much fun.
It's really
I'm
good,
I'm a big shooter guy, so like that.
Yeah, the prequel stuff still is like kind of ick to me, so I don't really play. I haven't played that one, but
you're crazy. That shit is great.
Yeah.
We got to get off Star Wars.
Yeah.
We can't go more than like 20 minutes without.
You should just
up.
like title the podcast like Star Wars and the Galacticas.
Yeah. I remember me and my buddy did a podcast after the first Star Wars, like the newest one came out.
The Force Awakens.
The Force Awakens. Why did I forget that name? Anyways, we did a podcast immediately after that came out, and we literally talked about Star Wars for an hour and a half. And then for like maybe half an hour we talked about other shit.
But how could you not? I mean, like that was a huge event, right? That was earth-shattering,
Everybody was talking about it.
Yeah, I mean, it was a thing. It was a Star Wars movie that came out that was actually good,
Yeah, like I think everybody, and like that was the thing, is when that came out, like I remember watching that movie, and like I'm sure we've talked about this before, but just like it hitting everything that I wanted it to be, like everything I wanted the new Star Wars to be. It like didn't disappoint me, and it also had enough of like a throwback to like keep it relevant, but it was also new enough. And
I mean, nowadays, if you look at like even glance at like YouTube or whatever, you're gonna hear nothing but hate for even that movie. But I mean, I don't buy it. I don't get bored. The way I tell if I like a movie or not is if I don't get bored when I watch it, and that doesn't mean it's got to be action all the time, because those Michael Bay Transformers movies are nothing but action, and I get bored as fuck watching those things. So, and I got a Decepticon tattoo. I those movies are like shots to the ribs, like as a Transformers fan. They're just like Michael Bay is just like punching me in the chest for like 2.5 hours every time.
But he's making money.
You like this thing? Well, too bad. Bam, bam. That being said, though, Bumblebee is a good movie.
I haven't even.
You're not a Transformers guy.
Well, like I am, and like I just again, it's just like. I know there's not as much of it, but like the Transformers movies almost became like the Marvel movies to me. It was like the first couple were good, and then it just like as it got to the last night or whatever.
Oh, dude,
they're
piles of crap.
Yeah, it's hard to watch.
But Bumblebee is. I mean, if I grew up watching the old cartoon, and it was like the movie felt like the whole time I was watching it. It felt like there was like almost like a subtitle at the bottom being like, "Please accept this apology, Anthony Janicki." That's what it felt like. It was very nice.
So, I guess what do you guys have like a favorite part about maybe making this EP, or just a favorite part of this EP in general?
That's a good question. Favorite part of the EP, I guess like for me, like I'm 100% between 100% like for Mario Kart in Amy's Apartment being the single, but I think VCR is like there's a song on VCR, and it's just very much of like a very
opening track. Yeah,
it's a very driving punk song, and I think that there's a lot of great parts of VCR that I think utilizes all of our best talents. Like there's great harmonies from Mark, especially when we went to the studio. Like Mark just nailed those harmonies, and like kudos for him. I didn't realize how much work we were actually like putting Mark through until we went to the studio, and like how much time he spent at that mic, like putting those harmonies on, and Casey like running him through those lines over and over and over again. And VCR is just a great like showcase of like great just great chemistry in that whole thing.
Yeah, like my favorite part about recording the EP is probably just Mark. Like working, because it came out of nowhere, like in like our lives essentially. We met him at this one show, and then I was like, dude, you want to be in our band? And so I've only gotten to know him since he's pretty much been in the band, and so it's just this, it's one of the greatest things about being in bands and writing music is you just get to. You're immediately thrust into this very intimate relationship where you have to really work with somebody. And
live with them in some cases, like we
pretty much, yeah.
Yeah, there's times where we spent.
Did we mention the fucking Drumheller Hotel on this podcast?
Oh man,
no, because he was in the band. Yeah, that's right.
Man,
oh, okay. The funniest case. So we played in Drumheller, and Mark
this place called Neighborhood's Corner Pub, which is a great pub. Like if you get a chance to play there, play there.
Shout out to but we played there and we finished our set. It's like 1 a.m, and I got us like the cheapest hotel in town, motel in town. And so we're like, yeah, cool, we're gonna go back, and yep, it was definitely cheap. We got in there, and there was just a double bed, so I was like, okay, well, Mark can use the cot. So it was like a tiny double bed, like, and then so Mark pulls out the cot and he opens it up, and no word of a lie, they're little fucking like things
cockroaches,
crawling,
like
something. He's
there's
like,
like
oh,
bugs.
That's a lie. He's like, oh, it's moving.
He's like, I'm closing this cot.
He closes the cot, and I was like, okay, Mark, you can like sleep on the bed with Will. I'll sleep on the floor, the hardwood floor.
And we kept on saying to Mark, or saying to Anthony, he's like, yeah, you have no choice but sleep on the floor.
Yeah,
Anthony.
so sleep on the floor, but at the same time, this bar is above, or this motel is above a bar, and the bar doesn't. Like is doing karaoke, and it's like a bunch of drunk ladies that just go till 4 a.m, and they're singing "Paradise by the Dashboard Lights." And we're trying to go to sleep. It's already 2 a.m. and we have to go. Like we're going on. Like we're on the road. We're going somewhere the next day. It's just like it's so loud, and I'm on the hardwood floor. And you guys are in this bed.
We're just laughing.
And there's like bugs.
I wake up the next day and like to look out the window, and I open up the window, and the window is like has no view at all. It's like a window this small like ceiling or roof area that looks directly into somebody else's roof.
Yeah, it was fun. Yeah, it was.
And there's all this trash out there and everything. And I was like, okay.
It was just like the kind of those drunk ladies singing "Paradise by the Dashboard Light" was kind of just like the nice little cap on the end of the night. Just like, I don't know. Yeah, it's funny.
Actually, you know what? I think I'll change my answer from like the song. I think the best part about this past year and like the gestation of this EP and like meeting Mark, I think has been the touring experience. I think we've kind of mastered our version of touring, because there's no real way to tour, but we've mastered our version of touring to the point like I think we're pretty clinical at it right now. Even when shit hits the fan where you forget a snare drum, you know, like we're still able to pull it out of our asses in some way or another.
Yeah, well, I feel like you got to play lots because it's the only way you get good on stage. But you can't play your city all the time. You just can't do it. Fortunately, Rock for Dollars has kind of mitigated that a bit, because you can play Rock for Dollars whenever you want. It doesn't seem to really matter too much. But as far as besides that, like, yeah, you got to get out of town, and sometimes it means you're playing in some really random bar to a bunch of people that like hate you.
Yeah, and it happens, man. But you just gotta like get her done.
Yeah, but sometimes it works. You know, it's just you rolling the dice.
Oh yeah, and it's also like that's how you grow your fan base too, right? Like,
oh yeah,
like some people, like, they're not going to hear you unless you do go to that shitty bar and like play for them. And then
totally.
They might be like, oh, the Galacticas. Well, now I'm going to go and look at them up online. Like,
yeah, if I sell at least one CD and make one new fan at like whatever fucking shitty whatever night bar somewhere wherever, it's worth it.
Yeah.
We just add more to the ranks essentially and get the music out there. You know, because I don't care about making money. Never have. That's why I have a full-time job. But if it just means like I can make like people can hear the music, that's like all that matters.
Yes.
It's also a great way, like, just to separate from the music a little bit. It's just a great way if you plan on traveling your country in a way, or want to see your country. The best way to experience new towns and new areas is playing in front of them.
well, like it's I wouldn't say it's the best way to see the country, because
I mean,
you got a time limit, but it's gonna get you places where you never would have ever have gone.
Yeah.
You know, like I never would have ever checked out Devon, Alberta. You know, but now I know what it's like. You know, like because I had to play there.
We've had to play there. Yeah. And that was fun.
Yeah.
That was a good time actually.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, they're always you just there's all these random little places and adventures you go on that you never would have otherwise, unless you went and just like decided to bite the bullet and play at some little bar. So yeah.
I mean, you do get to see the town in some ways. Like I've always wanted to make that meme. You know, the meme where it's like what my mom thinks I do, what my girlfriend thinks I do, and I want to do it like for a band thing where it's like what I actually do is just waiting. Is like that, like 90% of being in a band and doing shows is just waiting.
So many trips to West Edmonton Mall.
Yeah,
hanging out before the gig.
Yeah. So like even like where we showed up in Cranbrook like 6 hours before our show or something like that. Yeah. So we walked around the whole town. We found like this weird abandoned train station thing, and we just kind of explored that for a bit. And like, okay, time to play our show now.
Yeah,
you know?
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. So like there is chances to go see other things in other towns, and if you get to make your way back, you just get better at timing it and everything like that.
Sure. It's the thing is we live in Canada, so it's like sometimes your gig is 8 hours away the next day.
Yeah.
That's the only part, right? So you gotta,
Actually, to go back to Drumheller, there's they're not open anymore, but when we played Drumheller, I think 2 times ago or something like that, they had this Star Trek museum.
That's not open anymore?
No, they closed it. I looked it up. Actually, somebody posted about on Reddit or something like, hey, we're from, I think it was like Germany or something like that. We're in Alberta. What's a cool thing to do? And somebody mentioned like the Drumheller, like the dinosaur museum. Everybody recognized. Royal Tyrrell. And I commented the Star Trek museum because it's a blast. Like the Star Trek museum was super cool. I really liked that place a lot. But then somebody commented, yeah, it's not open anymore. They totally shut it down.
That sucks.
Yeah. Originally it was in Vulcan. Like there was a Star Trek museum in Vulcan. Then they moved it to. We asked them like why'd you move it to Drumheller? And it's like because everybody goes to Drumheller for the Royal Tyrrell Museum. Why not have this other thing there?
It's cool. It had like props and costumes and yeah, we went as a band like after the gig or before the gig or whatever, and it was a lot of fun. Yeah, that really bums me out to hear that they closed it.
It was good. It was like two guys owned it.
Just another thing to blame the baby boomers for. Can't even have our Star Trek museums, you know.
I want to know what happened to all that stuff. Like, I wonder if they had to sell it or if they're gonna keep it.
I don't know. Yeah.
Because like some of the stuff is
I'm
like
sure, yeah,
they had like
sold it, yeah.
set pieces from like Star Trek Nemesis and stuff like that.
There might just be a storage locker in Drumheller filled with Star
There's, like,
Trek
the Star
stuff.
Trek stuff. Yeah.
We're gonna see it on Storage Wars Canada or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They'll open it. It's like, oh my god, we hit the jackpot.
Cool. So I guess what does 2019 kind of hold for you guys other than the EP and stuff like that?
Yeah, we're doing a little bit more touring pretty soon here. Like we're going to Revelstoke right before the EP release, and then right after that we're going to Lethbridge and Fernie again, I believe. After that, we kind of have a big blank spot coming up for the summertime. I'll start working on maybe some touring. We want to play locally more because we've deliberately not been playing locally lately.
Just kind of like garner interest for
Yeah,
this and
yeah.
like the EP release and all that sort of stuff. But
we're
yeah,
doing-
I kind of want to play local a little bit more because, you know,
we are doing East Town Get Down in May, which is a really cool thing put on by Major Minor.
oh yeah, I helped out a lot for that one last summer. And
Yeah, Will was
it-
volunteering for it.
I was not just a volunteer. I was the band coordinator for the whole thing.
Right. Well, anyways, it was like this big. Did you ever hear about it? East
Yeah,
Town Get Down?
yeah.
Okay. Well, yeah. So Graham's putting that on again, and so we're doing that, and then Griff Fest.
Beginning of
You
March.
know Griffin?
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's been on the podcast too.
Oh,
Really?
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, he had. I
Yeah,
forgot.
with
Yeah. No,
with
I
his
no.
band, Chained by Mind.
Chained by Mind.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we're playing that coming right after the EP release, which is March 3rd at the Broken City, I believe. And so that's all we have locally, I think, lined up.
We have offers, but we're just trying to like.
Well, I'm going away. I'm going on a trip in April, so I'm kind of like, yeah, it's kind of after once I get back from that, I'll start. I like to go out of town. I'm trying to book the touring a lot for the winter because I like to do other things in the summertime.
Yeah.
So yeah, and it is a kind of a rough go to tour in the summer. I've done it a bunch of times because it's like fun to be on the road in the summer, but the gigs are never as good because also everyone else is like not in town.
Everybody else is out of town, and
Yeah.
because it's easy to travel in Canada in the summer, so everybody's like, take advantage of this.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and especially when you're hitting small towns, like the small towns are gone, like they're empty. So, it's better to tour despite the roads and shit like that. It is better to tour in the wintertime. At least that's what I've learned. There's particular windows too. It's like you really want to do it in September or October because that's when kids are back from college and stuff like that. Yeah, there's all these like little tricks you got to learn. You know.
Yeah.
People are still in party mode from the summer and being back in school and stuff. Like
Yeah.
finals haven't hit yet. And
You gotta find the college towns and like all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
It's fun, man. I like touring. I like touring in the summer, but it's definitely not. You're not touring in the summer for like getting fans per se, but it's just really just working. Like,
I just treat it like a vacation.
Yeah.
So you have to do in the wintertime. You have to like I have like a whole thing. It's like you get the 8-hour drives. You got to dress warmly, but you want to be comfortable. So it's like I wear like long johns under shorts, you know, like in the car, and like you know, like you have all these ways, and you bring like your like nowadays. I mean, touring is better than ever because of all that crazy tech you can bring with you to entertain you on the road.
Yeah.
It's kind of a shame because we've never played Dungeons and Dragons on the road before. Which is
but
something I
we've
really
got
wanna do.
Smash Bros that we play in all the hotel rooms.
We actually that same Medicine Hat gig where we didn't have a snare drum. It was so funny. We like after we played, there was like a few girls were like, "Hey, you should come party with us after," and we're like, yeah, whatever, kind of thing. And then we went back to the motel and played Smash Bros. It's like
Rock and roll.
I didn't realize till we were driving back, and I was like, "Wow, we are such nerds." You know, like, I mean, you guys have girlfriends, anyways.
Yeah. It wouldn't have been.
It's just this is a funny thing to think about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I want to do Dungeons and Dragons in the car. It's just like I've even asked Mark to come up. I think maybe I
Yeah,
asked
because
Mark?
he would DM. I think.
I think he would
Do you play
DM.
Dungeons and Dragons?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
I've never played it before, and I really want to play it, but it's like
Great time.
Yeah, I just don't know if
the
I can.
problem with D&D, it's like
It's a time commitment.
you have to be one of those people that is willing to just like drop a massive amount of time down, and I just can't do it. But I like the game, like I do. So touring is a great opportunity to do it, and I've done it with Deluge in the past. We would do D&D on the road sometimes. So
we actually started using this thing. It's called Roll20. Basically, what it is just a website, but it allows you to host your D&D games online, and it has all the maps and like character sheets and all that shit, and it's free to use, and you just like talk over event or something like that, so your entire party's online, and then the DM's controlling the maps and like the different characters,
that's
and
sweet.
it has all the information programmed into it and stuff.
I'm so choked I didn't know about Dungeons and Dragons when I was a kid.
Yeah, me too.
Like I didn't. I heard about it. I just thought it was like a video game or something. I was like, what? And then it wasn't literally until I was like in my 20s that I actually found out what it was. Where it's like, oh, you just make a character and you go on these adventures in your minds.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's amazing. I would have fucking eaten that up when I was a little kid. But, yeah, oh well. And I would have had the time too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When I first got asked to play D&D, like just out of instinct, I said no, because I was like, nerd things or whatever, like nerdier than me things. Or
yeah, right.
And then I was like, wait a second. I was like, I thought about it, and it was like, no, this is like exactly what I'm looking for. Actually, this is like right up my alleyway. And,
I missed it too growing up. Like it had that stigma for me. It was just being a little too nerdy, and that's unfortunate that it did have that stigma. I think my dad was a proponent of that because he kind of grew up like don't do D&D. Were you one of those D&D nerds?
Oh,
so
yeah,
like
my
I had
dad was
that
a football
stigma.
player too. I wasn't allowed to be a nerd around him.
Yeah, so it was like we had that. It had that stigma towards it, but I'd love to play it now. Just that time commitment is something else. And I know you can kind of like you can like pretty much save where you're at, like just remember where you're at, and then come back to it another day.
I might as well plug then, since we're talking about this. Eric from my other band, Eric Andrews, who also records the guy I was talking about earlier. He hosts D&D at the Ship and Anchor on Tuesday nights, and I guess how it works is you can actually just go and do like 2-hour campaigns or whatever. So if you're not somebody that's willing to do a giant commitment, I would have done it a while ago, but unfortunately
on what nights?
Tuesdays. You just go to the Ship and Anchor.
I'm gonna do that tomorrow night.
Yeah, you can just like sit down and like he'll hook you up with like little just like small adventures or whatever.
I'm in between I'm in between jobs right now. I got let go from Vans. I was just seasonal there. So now I have this whole week off where I'm just trying to fill like, I'm going to Rock for Dollars on Wednesday and I'm meeting this guy on Thursday, and I'm just filling up as much time. So I might do this tomorrow.
Yeah, no, it's apparently lots of fun. He's been doing it for a while now. I think it's quite successful. So, I mean, like I would do it, but I just can't be hanging out at bars on Tuesday nights with my job. The only time I let myself do it is I'm doing something important like this podcast or like Rock for Dollars and I'm playing it. I won't go to Rock for Dollars unless I'm playing it because I'm an adult and I can't be partying at bars. So.
It sucks that like getting older and you like see all these shows on weekdays and you're like, but I have to be up in the morning. Like I can't be hungover at my job anymore because
I ditched the Cancer Bats. The Cancer Bats came here and they did a Black Sabbath cover set.
Yeah.
And I was like, I can't do it. It's like a Wednesday. I can't.
Yeah. So many shows that I've missed, like good shows too, just because they were on weekdays, and I'm like, I just can't do it.
The hangover at work thing is that I remember being 19 and like partying the night before at Ducky's or something like that, and then waking up in the morning and puking, and then going to work immediately after that, and just thinking like, who was that person that did that?
Right, yeah.
I would go to like work literally on no sleep. I just haven't.
Oh yeah.
No sleep, and just like waking up and just being like, yeah, I'll just sleep when I get home.
Yeah, it's just can't do it anymore.
Too old.
No, it's just like it's.
My body like it can't sleep in past 8:30. Like for some, I can go to bed at 6:00 in the morning and like I'll be up at 8:30. Like it doesn't matter. Like you're up at 8:30 for me.
Yeah. Is there any kind of final things you guys just want to throw out there?
I guess I'll just do the whole spiel. Come see our EP release on February 22nd at the Broken City. Mademoiselle, the Detractions, and Crack the Lens. It's a pretty diverse lineup and an awesome lineup.
It's a great lineup, man. I haven't seen Crack the Lens before, so I'm pretty excited about that. But I've seen Detractions of Mademoiselle a number of times.
I should probably
those guys are awesome.
I should probably smooch Crack the Lens a little bit more, because on the podcast they did here, they said some embarrassing things about me, and
what'd they say?
Well, they were just
I gotta
just like,
listen to this podcast.
No, they were just being like super nice, and I was like at the gym, and I was like, kind of like, trying to work out. But yeah, those guys are great, and I'm super happy that they are agreed to do this show. And so yeah, like the EP, we're really happy with it. Super special thanks to Casey Lewis for all the hard work he did. He really put in a lot of extra time for us, and if you haven't seen the music video, I worked really hard on it. So can you go to just look us up, the Galacticas, on YouTube, and it's called Mario Kart at Amy's Apartment, and you can see it. And
it's also on Facebook as well.
I also put it in the episode notes.
Oh, sweet.
Cool.
Yeah, awesome.
Yeah. So yeah, come out and it'll
throw stuff at our face. It'll be fun.
Yeah,
we'll cry.
Yeah, we will. We'll cry on stage for you.
For money.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. As always, this has been much fun.
Okay, thank you very much.
Man.
Was nothing but a pipe dream, a future sold on TV, a science fiction movie. We all remember that cynical December when we gave in forever, whatever they might render. Used cars, battle stars, and used cars, battle stars, shitty cheap Squire guitars.
If you liked this episode of the podcast, why not leave a review? You can find us on iTunes, Stitcher, and Google Play. For up-to-date information on the podcast, follow us on Facebook and Twitter. You can find us at FrogE Style Productions. That's Frog, the letter E, Style Productions. For more ways to support the show, visit fsproductions.ca.